Hey everyone, Tom Butwin here for Premier Guitar. Today we are playing through the Boss XS-100 Poly Shifter. The XS-100 is designed for guitar and bass. It gives you an 8-octave range, and it is one of those effects that is going to inspire some sounds and playing that you otherwise would not be able to get. And it's really, really cool, but it also provides some serious utility on gigs, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. First and foremost, let's talk a little bit about how this works. Now, it sounds complicated, but it is actually relatively simple to start using this pedal. I would think of it as two separate effects in one pedal. When you engage the effect on the top here, that's your pitch shift that's being controlled by the expression pedal. Now, this is really, really cool because you can dial in exactly how many octaves or how many semitones you want that to change by using this rotary knob here, and that's going to be indicated on the top of the display. So within that effect, you can do all kinds of cool things. You can get almost pedal steel-like tones. You can actually change the chord you're playing depending on how you set it. And then of course you can get into the absolutely wild shifts in the middle of a solo or a part, all controlled by the expression pedal. Now, the expression pedal also has a toe switch, which when you engage it, this LED light lights up there, and that's just another dimension you can add to that effect for a momentary skyrocketing, squealing sound if that's what you're going for. Now, the second effect that's built into this pedal is down here. It's called the tune down, and that would be indicated on the bottom half of the display. What you can do here is really, really cool, and this is where some of that utility comes into play. Now, the first thing I did on this was I had to make my guitar a baritone guitar because we all love baritone sounds, right? But sometimes it's not practical to set up an existing guitar as a baritone or go out and buy a baritone, or speaking of practicality, bring a baritone guitar to a gig for maybe one song. In this case, you can turn your guitar into a baritone guitar very easily using the tune down effect. Now, another example of utility with the tune down effect is I only have a 4-string bass. 9 times out of 10, that is going to be plenty, and that's the sound I want. But every once in a while, you're going to get into that, hey, I wish I had a 5-string sort of territory. Now, you can use the tune down effect to drop your bass down into what would essentially be sort of like a 5-string bass, and you get that low B without having to bring another guitar to the gig. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you can also use the tune down effect to go up. Let's say you forget a capo, or you're playing a set and there's literally only one song you need a capo for, or you want to surprise people and you don't want to know what's coming when you put the capo at the 2nd fret. You can actually use the tune down function to simulate a capo on your guitar. So the XS-100 is achieving all of this with 24-bit converters and technology from Boss and Roland that ultimately just sounds great. It does not affect your tone in a negative way, which is super important for guitar players, and it's really, really easy to use. Couple other functions in this pedal that are worth noting. You can dig in to the pitch shift effect and the tune down effect and fine tune and customize things. You can change the dry versus wet signal and go just really deep in customizing how this pedal is going to work for you. You do also have the ability to save 30 memories, or what would be considered presets, I suppose, on this pedal, and you can set it up so you can rifle through them using the 2 foot switches here. So if you have a specific setting between the pitch shift effect and the tune down effect on a song, you can save it and not have to be turning this knob and trying to dial in semitones on a gig. Makes for a very usable piece of gear if you want to take it out of the studio and recreate sounds that maybe you put on a record. So as far as in and out on the back of this pedal, of course, you have the 9-volt DC power in. You've got a USB-C port for firmware updates, and then you do have MIDI in and out, so you can control this pedal and all of its many parameters via MIDI. And then, if one expression pedal and 2 foot switches is not enough for you, you can dig deeper into this and add additional switches or an additional expression pedal, and then assign functions to those pedals via the menu. When it comes to plugging your guitar or bass into this, of course, you've got an input and an output, but you also have an analog unaffected through. So if you want to maintain an unaffected signal and blend it with this or send it somewhere else, you can do that with the XS-100. So maybe you're saying, hey, this is really cool, but I don't have room for something this size on my board, or I don't really need anything beyond the tune down effect to simulate a baritone or a capo on my guitar. Is there something that could work for me? Yes, there is. There's the Boss XS-1 in that very familiar Boss footprint, which retains a lot, if not almost all, of the functionality of the XS-100. Of course, you don't have an expression pedal on that one, but you can add one. So if that's more interesting to you, or maybe more practical for your current setup, make sure you check out the XS-1 as well. The XS-100, though, is kind of the ultimate when it comes to pitch shifting, effects, and control. So again, the XS-100 gives you 8 octaves of pitch shifting fun. You can dig deep into the pitch shift effect and select octaves and semitones to create all kinds of different effects. And then if you go into the tune down side, you can convert your 4-string bass to a 5-string. You can take your standard guitar and turn it into a baritone. You can add a capo if you want. The possibilities are endless with this thing, and it is a ton of fun. It's very inspiring. Make sure you check it out. Get your hands and feet on one of these if you can. Once again, my name's Tom Butwin here for Premier Guitar. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything in the future, and I will see you in the next one.